Turning to business news now with Giles Beckford, our business editor. Of course, a major slump in business confidence. Giles, some of it politically inspired, you suspect?
Possibly so. Good evening to you, John. It's the ANZ Bank's monthly business outlook. It measures how the businesses are feeling over a variety of factors. This one has seen they were already pessimistic in the previous survey the month before, but this time there's now a net 39% pessimism level. That means that people expect the economy to get worse over the next 12 months. Now, the reason why the ANZ Bank suspects there may be a hint of politics, a political disappointment about the fact that Labour is leading the new government and perhaps not National, is because the firms that were surveyed are still relatively positive about their own outlook. Now, there's often a discrepancy between the way they feel about the broader economy and their own prospects, but they suspect that the quite wide gap between the general view and the specific view may be just reflecting the politics of the issue. But the other things are that some of the drivers of the economy have turned soft. Housing construction is on the wane. The housing market itself is slowing down. And there's a general feeling that perhaps immigration has also hit its peak, and tourism perhaps. And some of the factors that may drive the economy going into the new year: strong terms of trade, that means we're getting reasonably good export earnings, and the possibility of further spending by the government, they've yet to kick into effect. So there may be that little soft spot in the middle. For the time being, ANZ's new chief economist, Sharon Zolmer, says it's important that businesses actually don't talk themselves into a bit of a funk about all this, and that they just get on with doing it, because there is the danger of this becoming a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's really the last thing that the economy would want as it goes into the new year.
Thanks, Giles. You were talking about ANZ. The big Australian banks a bit under the gun with the government across the ditch.
Most definitely. You remember Bob Hawke's famous phrase of 30-odd years ago, which was that all banks were bastards. And certainly Malcolm Turnbull might well be feeling a bit the same way. He's been resisting the calls from within his own government, the right-wing side of his coalition, who have been demanding an inquiry into bank behaviour. And certainly Australian banks haven't covered themselves in glory in the past 5 or so years. Not only have they made what might be regarded as exorbitant profits, they've been strongly criticised for their tough selling practices, for giving misleading financial advice to their consumers, been trying to actually get round the anti-money laundering laws. So although they may have tried to put some of these things behind them, they don't come with a good track record. It turns out this is largely on internal Australian politics. Malcolm Turnbull, of course, he's stuck for numbers in the House, having lost people like Barnaby Joyce because of the citizenship row. In the meantime, he really had no choice but to concede a Royal Commission. He was probably helped by the banks themselves. The big 4 banks in Australia all signed a letter saying, look, the speculation and uncertainty is corrosive of confidence in the sector. We might as well have a Royal Commission. Of course, the good thing of a Royal Commission is that it kicks the whole issue down the track for about 12 months or so. It may cost several millions of dollars for the Australians, but that will be cheap change if it buys them a bit of political time. The interesting factor for New Zealand is, of course, that we're not talking about the financial probity of the banks, but about their ethical behaviour. It may cast a spotlight on business practices on this side of the Tasman, given that our major banks are all owned by the big banks in Australia. So we'll just wait and see what arises from that, but it's one to watch over the months to come.
Yeah, we trust you'll keep us informed too. Thanks, Giles. What happened on the markets today?
Finally, the share market had a bit of a dose of life. It's had a strong ending, up 0.5%. That's about 45 points. The top 50 index closing at 8186. That's just shy of all-time high. The New Zealand dollar, it did take a hit because of that business confidence survey, down to 68.5 euro cents and 90.2 Australian.
Giles Beckford, our business editor, thank you.